Hey, it is Andy, once again with a record from my collection, and this is actually going to be part one of a few parts on Mercury Rev's Deserters songs. Let's begin. Mercury Rev is an American indie rock band that formed in Buffalo, New York in about 1989. Their fourth studio album, Deserters Songs, which I have right here, was released in 1998, and 25 years later, it's considered really their breakthrough album in many cases. It's become kind of a classic in more modern indie rock. The album features lush orchestration, soaring vocals, and haunting melodies that kind of reminded me of a mesh between, say, the Flaming Lips and the Polyphonic Spree. The latter formed a few years after the release of this album, and I'll touch more on the former in a future video. The album's opening track, Holes, kind of sets the tone for the entire album. It starts with a simple guitar riff that gradually builds into a kind of a grandiose orchestral arrangement, and it perfectly captures the song's kind of melancholy, almost dreamlike atmosphere. The lyrics are equally poignant. Got Us on a Highway is the album's lead single, and it's kind of what originally drew me to Mercury Rev. The song features kind of this driving beat and catchy melody and Donahue's mystical vocals. The lyrics especially are memorable, and the vocal hooks easily kind of sneak their way into your head. It's an entirely memorable song, and one that it's one that just kind of keeps popping back up again and again for me. Aside from the two previous tracks, I didn't really pay much attention to the rest of the album until I picked up this LP. And when I did, the track that had me coming back and actually hitting repeat on my headphones again and again was The Funny Bird. It is haunting. I don't know how else to describe it. The song's lyrics are highly poetic, entirely enigmatic, and the instrumentation kind of swirls in this spacey, atmospheric, almost otherworldly sense. I can't get enough. And Donahue's vocals kind of have this interesting warble to it, and it's just so good. So I've mentioned that this was kind of a breakthrough album. Deserters Songs received quite the widespread critical acclaim upon its release, with many critics praising the album's orchestration, the emotive vocals, the poetic lyrics. Rolling Stone's David Frick called it, quote, a classic of modern psychedelia, and he praised the band's ability to take, quote, the shimmering splendor of the late 60s rock and infuse it with a modern sense of experimentation, end quote. The album was also included in Pitchfork's list of the top 100 albums of the 1990s, with reviewer Mark Richardson calling it, quote, one of the most fully realized albums of the decade. It was included in the book 1001 Albums to Hear Before You Die by Robert Dimery in 2005. And to conclude, I will once again quote David Frick from his Rolling Stone review. Quote, Deserters Songs is an album that will take you to another world. It's a place of grandeur and beauty that you won't want to leave.